Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast Postgame show. Hope you guys are having a well, it's not Sunday anymore. It is technically Monday as we are recording this podcast, but hope you guys did enjoy your weekend and had a um, good Christmas, spent time with the family. But we're going to get into this postgame show. The Pistons played the Clippers tonight, the LA Clippers. And just to get into this first quarter, right off the bat, Cade Cunningham picked up two fouls very early on. I thought JB was going to sit him. He allowed him to play through this game. He eventually did pick up his third foul later on in this game. Clippers just dominated the way that they played. They had a game plan for Cade and the Pistons, and you could see what their game plan was. As soon as Cade had the ball, collapse on him, make him make tough passes and decisions. And Cade was scoreless in this first half. Didn't really turn it on until the second half. But Jalen Duren did keep the Pistons afloat a little bit. He had 10 points to end this first quarter. Isaiah Stewart was bringing off some good energy off the bench, and Ron Holland as well. But the Pistons had a 12-point deficit to start this game. It was 33-20 after 12 minutes of action. And Ron Holland's energy was still infectious going into the second quarter. I would have liked to see, a little bit more of the second unit in the second quarter, because I felt like they were really bringing the energy. I would have tried to ride that hot hand. Like the Clippers were up pretty big, and this bench unit got it within 9 in the second quarter. But as soon as the starters came back in, Kawhi and the Clippers got it back up to a 18-point lead. Kawhi had 25 at halftime. He did try to bring Cade back in, but immediately sat him. Didn't want him to pick up his fourth foul. But to end the second quarter, Clippers dropped 60. The Pistons only dropped 42 points in 24 minutes of action. Coming out of halftime, came out very aggressive, hit back-to-back three-pointers, found Jalen Duren for a lob dunk. Pistons go on a 12-all run. Looks like they're going to try to get back into this, but then the Clippers go on their run. They go on a 13-2 run. Again, Kawhi Leonard just could not miss a shot. Like, he looked like the Toronto Raptors Kawhi Leonard. He looked like that two-time champion Kawhi that we're very familiar with, but he had 51 by the third quarter. Like, just absurd. Like, just the way he was scoring, mid-range three, he was getting it done. But after three, it was 92-69. Going into the fourth, Pistons tried to have like one last spurt to try to get back into this game, but they just really couldn't hit shots. And they lose this one in LA, 112-99. Now, I was looking at the schedule. The last time the Pistons lost back-to-back games was exactly a month ago around this time. They lost against the Boston Celtics. They ended the 13-game win streak November 26th. And they lost against the Orlando Magic in the in-season tournament on November 28th. So this is the second time this season that the Pistons have lost back-to-back games. Now, how do they they'll shake this off going against the Lakers and Staples? I'm not entirely sure. They do have a dynamic scorer in Luka Doncic. I think Austin Reeves is going to be out because I did see that he had an injury, but they still have LeBron James. The only caveat is the Lakers are actually a really bad defensive team. I think there's a good opportunity for the Pistons on Tuesday to, get these losses off their back and get back into the winning column. But what I will say through this, first 4 games of this West Coast trip, something I've noticed with this team is the defensive detail. It's just not there. I feel like at times, like, we're taking plays off. I feel at times when we, like tonight, for example, like Kawhi obviously went for 50, but I would have loved to see Asar Thompson matched up on him a little bit more. And I'm not saying like Asar was shutting him down by any means, but he was at least making it a little bit more difficult. Multiple times you saw Tobias Harris switched on to Kawhi. I would have loved to see Asar on him a little bit more. I don't know if that was by design by the coaching staff or they were just switching everything, and that's why Tobias was on Kawhi Leonard for a majority of this, 50-point masterclass by him. But the defense it's definitely slipped. It's not the same defense we saw at home when they were on that 3-game win streak when they played the Hornets and they were just shutting them down. The defense has definitely slipped, I think, a little bit on this West Coast trip. So far they're 2-2 with wins against the Blazers and the Kings, but I think the defense needs to go back to where it was. Communicate a little bit more, be locked in a little bit more. I feel like we just haven't been ready to start these games. We're not really locked in when the whistle starts in the first quarter, but that's just kind of my assessment with these past 2 games against the Clippers. And I can't even remember who we played. I'm really tired last game, but did kind of want to touch on the defense a little bit because I think it has slipped a little bit. I am going to get into the box score, and then we'll look into the live chat. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, we'll open up the show. It'll be an open forum. We do a Q&A segment on these podcasts if you're brand new here. So any comments, questions with this game, overall thoughts with this West Coast trip where the Pistons are trending, anything like that, that's what the live chat is for. So definitely leave a comment down below, and I'll try to get to it when I get done talking about this box score. But let's get into it. So with this box score with the Detroit Pistons, as you guys can see, Tobias played 22 minutes tonight, scored 6 points, was perfect from the free throw line, 2 out of 5 from the field, had 1 assist, 2 turnovers, and 3 steals. He was a minus 15 in the box score. Duncan Robinson did not have his best shooting night whatsoever. 27 minutes, he only cashed in 5 points, 1 out of 6 from the field, 1 out of 6 from 3. 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds. He was a minus 15 as well. In the plus minus, Jalen Duren played 31 minutes in this one, 18 points, 8 out of 12 from the field, 2 out of 2 from the free throw line, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block shot. He was a minus 17. He did a much better job of not fouling as much. If you guys remember last game, he just could not stay out of foul trouble. Cade Cunningham in this one, 32 minutes played, 27 points in the second half, 9 out of 18 from the field, 3 out of 7 from 3, 6 out of 7 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 turnovers. If he didn't pick up those 3 fouls in the first quarter, maybe this game's a little bit different. I'm not entirely sure if the Pistons win it, but maybe if he doesn't get into foul trouble and he was aggressive as he was in the third and fourth, this game may have turned out different. I'm not entirely sure. But, having 3 fouls in the first quarter, it's something that's been a trend that I don't really like with this team where they're getting into early foul trouble and they have to sit on the bench and watch their team play. Asar Thompson played 24 minutes in this one, 6 points, 1 out of 6 from the field, 4 out of 6 from the free throw line. He's been making more free throws as of late. Like to see that. 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. 1 block was a minus 4. He led all the starters in plus minus with only a minus 4. Paul Reed got some garbage time, obviously, in this game. Played 6 minutes, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 1 steal. Was a plus 6 in the plus minus. Isaiah Stewart in 24 minutes had 8 points, 4 out of 11 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 4 rebounds, 1 turnover, and he was at minus 5. Ryan Holland in 18 minutes scored 4 points, 2 out of 3 from the field, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Just like, obviously he only scored 8 points, but I just felt like his energy was really infectious, especially in the second quarter. I thought he tried to help them, come back after trailing so much. They got it within a 9-point lead, but, once Kawhi and James Harden came back in, that was just kind of a thing where they got back into this game. Javonte Green in 13 minutes, 7 points, 3 out of 4 from the field, 50% from 3, 1 out of 2, 3 rebounds. And his steals record is finally broken. believe he had 15 straight games of recording a steal. He did not get a steal tonight, which was kind of interesting to see. Something, a record that we've been kind of keeping track on. So Karis LeVert only played 13 minutes, 4 points, 1 out of 3 from the field, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. He did injure himself, and I saw that on the timeline from Amar Sankofa that he did get hurt. So that's the reason why we saw Jaden Ivey play 29 minutes off the bench, lead them in bench minutes, scored 11 points. Not the best shooting performance out of him. 2 out of 10 from the field, 2 out of 5 from 3. 5 out of 6 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. It's a +4 in the plus minus. And Marcus Sasser got some garbage time and only attempted 1 3-point shot. Didn't really do anything in 2 minutes of action. Can't really do anything in 2 minutes of action if you do ask me. But yeah, man, this box score it's kind of depressing when you're reading it back to you guys. If we do look at the team stats, just overall, I think the one thing that just keeps sticking out with this team night in and night out is the 3-point shooting. 7 out of 29 from 3, 24% versus the Clippers, 41%, where they made 14 out of 34 attempts. The free throws were much better tonight. The Pistons cashed in on 86% of their free throws. They were 24 out of 28 from the line. The Clippers, respectively, were 28 out of 29. They shot 97%. And the one lone miss was actually Kawhi Leonard. He actually missed a free throw. There was like a streak of like 50 free throws that he made consecutively. He actually missed that, which is kind of wild considering like he was just making shot after shot after shot. In the rebound department, the Pistons had 45 to the Clippers 35. We had 18 assists, had 13 turnovers in this one. The Clippers had 12. Obviously, if you can keep them like around 10 to 12 on most nights, you're going to be doing a pretty good job. But overall, this game was just Kawhi Leonard masterclass. I did want to kind of open up the show to comments and questions with you guys. This is the part of the show where if you guys have any thoughts with tonight's game, there's a player that you're wanting to talk about, this is the time to drop the comments in the live chat right now. But we'll get into it. So Michigan Made does have the first comment of tonight's post-game show. And it has to do with Kawhi. Kawhi going for 26 and a quarter is unacceptable. JB having Tobias on him to get cooked every time is crazy. Meanwhile, Asar is your best on-ball defender, sitting on the bench half the game. Yeah, man, it's a weird situation. Like, we all know how important and crucial Asar is to this team's defense. Him and Isaiah Stewart, I believe, are the two best defenders on this team. But when you have Tobias rotated on Kawhi Leonard, possession after possession, like, you're seeing why Kawhi is a two-time champion. You're seeing why it was so easy for him to have, what was it, like 25 points by halftime. Like, he was just getting to his spots. Even though Tobias did have a hand in his face, like, he's a professional. Like, Kawhi, when healthy, he's one of the best players in basketball, and you saw that tonight. But the Asar thing is a little bit puzzling. Obviously, we know offensively, if he can, add anything, it's a positive, but he's more out there for his perimeter defense and his help side defense. Only playing him 24 minutes tonight was definitely a choice. Don't really know why he only got 24 minutes, but maybe it was by design by the coaching staff. Who knows, man? Who knows? I'd like to see Asar at least be in the 30s on a night-to-night basis just for his, defense alone out there. But, hey, I'm not a coach, but, I mean, we can nitpick at him only getting around 20 minutes a game, which I think is kind of crazy. You did have another comment as it relates to Duren. Look good with his mid-range and will be a real problem in a year or two if he keeps working on it. Yeah, I mean, it does help when Brook Lopez is slow as a turtle and, he's not going to be closing out as much, but that was probably the most mid-range jump shots I've seen Jalen Duren take as a Piston. And the shot does look encouraging. If he can add a good 12 to 15 footer, and if defenses are going to sag off of him like they were tonight, then I think it does open up more for him and more for his teammates around him if he's able to, knock down those elbow jump shots, those free throw line jump shots. Um, Kind of like a Bam Adebayo a little bit, like Bam very early on in his career was taking those 12 to 15-foot jump shots. And, as the years have gone on, he's been one of the better mid-range big men jump shooters in the NBA. But I was very encouraged to see, Duran take those jump shots. If we do want to have a little bit of a silver lining, spin some positivity on this post-game podcast, it was encouraging to see Jalen Duran take those mid-range jump shots. It'll be interesting to see what does happen with that. So I do see a comment about Tobias and Ivy, and I'm gonna get into this because I know it's trade deadline season. I know there are certain people that don't want to make any trades. There are certain people that do want to upgrade the roster. I'm kind of in the middle. I want to upgrade the roster like you guys, because I do see that there are some holes on this team that weren't there last year, but this team is completely different. And Wes Weaver does have a comment saying they got to move Tobias and Ivy. And he also goes on to say they lack another scoring option and consistent point guard off the bench. Here's the issue with, I think, trying to move Jaden Ivey and trying to move Tobias Harris. I think both are movable, but the problem is Tobias is on an expiring $26 million deal. I don't know too many teams that want a Tobias Harris right now. I just don't. And it's not any disrespect towards him, but what team around the league needs a power forward right now that is in his 30s and has kind of probably played some of his, his best years are behind him. He's not going in and going to be averaging 20 like he did with the Clippers. He's going to get you a good, 10 to 13 points on most night, crash the glass a little bit. He's been very streaky this year from three, only shooting 33% versus 35% last year. He's a year older. Like, what are you getting for Tobias Harris in an open trade? Now, the Jaden Ivey conversation, I know a lot of people, they're on the fence with whether they want to keep Ivey and extend him this summer or whether they just want to move him to the deadline. The thing with Ivey is his value is at its lowest point. Like, his best ball last year was right before Cole Anthony broke his leg. Obviously, he's had games this year where he shot the ball pretty well, but I think it's going to be a very hard sell to try to move him at the deadline because there's no guarantee he would want to re-sign with the team you're trading him to. Obviously, he's looking for a contract extension, but I don't really know if moving on from Jaden Ivey is that easy. If you just want to trade him for the sake of trading him, I guess. But I think Trajan Langdon has shown us everything he does is very intentional. And I think he'll be very calculated on the type of moves that he's looking to make. I don't know if he's ready to move on from Jaden Ivey. He has said that he's been in evaluation mode. He's obviously going to evaluate this team, over the next month until the deadline does come up in February. But I think trying to move on from Ivey is a tough sell just because his value, in my opinion, is at its lowest point. It really is. I don't know too many teams that would openly, want Ivey unless you're attaching maybe, Tobias in there and you're trying to make a splash, trying to sell him to a team as a lead guard on a rebuilding team. I just don't really see the value. I think it's a really tough situation if you are the Pistons, but that's just my opinion on it. I don't really think Ivey's value right now is at its highest point. I think last year was probably at his highest point when he was averaging around 17, 18 points a game and shooting 40% from 3 and 5 attempts a game. Right now, it's been very small sample size. This is the most minutes he's played since coming back from his minute restriction in 29 minutes, and he shot 2 out of 10 from the field with 11 points. But again, like I said, it's going to be really hard to try to sell him at the deadline, but I've said my piece on it. I want to get back into more of these comments and questions with you guys. Red Baron has a comment about Tobias. Tobias needs to be cool with coming off the bench, depending on the matchup. Either start Stu at the 4 or move Asar to the 4 and start Holland. Would love to find more playing time for Paul Reed. Yeah, I think that's a conversation we've had. It's been a conversation where I honestly believe that this team is still looking for their long-term 4. I think Tobias, when we signed him, was more of just a placeholder until they could figure out who could be the long-term power forward on this team. Now, whether that is Isaiah Stewart, whether that is Sar Thompson, like you mentioned, I'm not entirely sure. Or even Ryan Holland. I don't know. I don't know who the long-term 4 on this team is going to be for the next 5 years. Could they be in the roster? Maybe. Could it be a player that we trade for at the deadline? Possibly. Could it be someone in free agent we sign? Who knows? I don't know. I think there's a lot of questions that I don't know the answers to. I wouldn't be opposed of Tobias Harris coming off the bench. I really like the Stu Duran minutes together because I think when they're out there, they're disruptive. They crash the glass. And you also have Asar out there in the starting lineup. So defensively, they're better. I think offensively, there are challenges there, but Stu has shown the ability to stretch the floor. But JB hasn't really been known to, make adjustments mid-season in terms of the starting lineup, Red Baron, unless there's an injury. So we're probably going to be getting the same starting 5 unless someone's hurt or unless there's a trade made. But for right now, most nights it's going to be Cade, Duncan, Asar, Tobias, Duran. That's going to be your starting 5 on most nights, in my opinion. Marquez has a comment about the West Coast trip. He says, West Coast trips built character. No need to panic. Adversity shapes development on to the next game. It's a very positive outlook to look at it. And I agree. You've been on the road for several days. It does build character. Hopefully you do have a bounce back game against the Los Angeles Lakers, who aren't really a good defensive team. Maybe you can take advantage of them not playing defense. Maybe you can. Maybe you can take advantage of Luka Doncic complaining to the ref when he doesn't get a foul. Hopefully they can get a bounce back game against the Lakers. Get to a couple more comments and questions with you guys. We need Malik back. Until Malik gets cleared, you guys, he's not going anywhere. You can just catch him on his Twitch channel or his Snapchat. Like, he's still under investigation with the NBA. And that's all I'll really say at that. I don't really think it's worth getting into a Malik Beasley conversation. I do see a comment from RVK 117. Hope JB finally saw the light and recognized that Ivy is far more versatile than Duncan and Karras. Even though like Ivy did play 29 minutes tonight, he didn't shoot the ball as well. Harris got hurt. Don't know what happened there. Duncan had an off night. I think there's a good mixture where you can have Jade and Ivy and Duncan. The one thing with Karras is like, I didn't go into the season expecting he would have an impact in his points per game because he's been around like 12, 13 points a game, throughout his career. He's only averaging 8 this season, but it's so weird. He's shooting 39% from 3, which he's having a better 3-point shooting season, but his points per game, career-wise, have been down. So he's a very frustrating player to watch. Defensively, I think he does show some effort on, possessions. It's not consistent, though. There have been times where he's gotten beaten multiple times. But, overall, he's been a very up and down player to watch. I'm very curious to see what does happen with Jaden Ivey in the long term, in terms of his minutes, in terms of like what we could see with, him being kind of a 6-man. Like, do you keep Duncan in the starting lineup? Don't really know what's going to happen there. Did I hear the Hawks might move Zachary Ricochet? Wes, I did see that. I think the Hawks are just in a sell mode right now. Since Trae Young has come back, they haven't won a game. I believe I read this morning they're like 0-6. Obviously the trade for Kristaps Porzingis hasn't really paid dividends. Seems like every other week he's out with some kind of injury or illness. The Hawks are probably going to be selling at the deadline because it just hasn't really worked out for them. And I know that was a team that a lot of people in the media were kind of hyping up, being like a top 4 seeded team in the Eastern Conference. But um, it'll be interesting to see what the Atlanta Hawks do at the deadline. Wes, number one need is another deadly catch and shoot player. Someone like Grayson Allen, Sam Hauser. More expensive would be Michael Porter Jr. I love this comment because this is something that I've been saying on the podcast. I've been preaching on the podcast. This team needs more perimeter shooters. And the names that you put in the comment section, which I appreciate, Grayson Allen, if you guys have been following him in Phoenix, he's shooting the shit out the ball. Like, he's a really good three-point shooter. Sam Hauser is a very under the radar type name from the Boston Celtics, and an incredibly cheap contract, by the way. Probably the best contract in the NBA, in my personal opinion, in terms of just overall value. The Celtics obviously don't want to get into the tax, and they might look to try to shed salary. Sam Hauser could be gettable at the deadline. More expensive would be Michael Porter Jr. I agree. I think nationally, a lot of people didn't really know what his value could be because during the summer he got moved for a first in Cameron Johnson. So the Nuggets had to give up a first to get Michael Porter Jr. off their books and acquire Cam Johnson. I honestly think Michael Porter Jr. is probably going to cost you a couple of draft picks, first round draft pick for sure, maybe multiple first round draft picks. You would have to include Tobias in that deal, and you would probably have to include either an Asar, Ron Holland, or Jalen Duren or Jaden Ivey. I think those are the type of moves that would at least start the conversation with MPJ. But the Pistons, I guess, as of right now, haven't even had conversations with Brooklyn about him. And there's no like real intel whether Brooklyn wants to move on for him or not. They might want to try to have him on the roster because he's a very good basketball player, scoring the basketball at all 3 levels. But it'll be interesting to see over these next couple of months what does happen in Brooklyn. They're on a 3-game win streak as of late. They've kind of turned it around and I did not expect that with the type of roster they have. But hey, that's why the NBA is an 82-game season. Certain teams will streak. I think I saw a tweet by someone saying that all the bottom teams in the East and the West are on win streaks right now. So it's just craziness in the NBA right now. Duncan basically needs to be on the court even when he's struggling because the Pistons have 0 other players that scare other teams from the 3-point line. And I agree, man. Like, this is a team that doesn't hoist a whole lot of threes. Last year, like Tim and Malik, I believe I read somewhere a week ago that they accounted for 40% of the Pistons threes last year. And you just didn't really replace the production. Obviously, Duncan is your best 3-point shooter, but when you look up in terms of just percentages, like Duncan is your best 3-point shooter. Jaden Ivey's up there, but it's been in a very small sample size. Then you have Stu, that doesn't really shoot a whole lot of threes, but it just gets to a point where like you obviously see what this team needs at the deadline. What this team needs at the deadline is more perimeter shooting and playmaking. Now, whether you think that, you need more of a backup point guard, whether you think you need more 3-point shooters, which I think they do. I think Trajan will look to add on the margins. I don't think this team is going to like actively go out and try to trade for a Trey Murphy, given what the Pelicans are asking for. But I know a lot of Pistons fans would love to get a Trey Murphy. I'd be lying to you if I said I wouldn't love a Trey Murphy, but just knowing what they're going to be asking for, they want a Desmond Bane type haul for him, which, I don't think they'll get, but hey, more power to them if they can get that type of haul. But I think as we're looking at this team on December 29th, they're 24-8. It's okay to have a conversation about them trying to make upgrades to the roster. And I think some people will open up to it as we do get closer to the deadline. I've been preaching to you guys. I think we need more 3-point shooters. I think we need more of a scoring punch off the bench um, consistently. Because right now, you're seeing teams is double and triple K'd, and there's no real threat out there outside of Duncan Robinson on the perimeter that can consistently make 3-point shots. But it's kind of been my opinion over the last month. Do want to wrap this podcast up, though, you guys. We will have post-game podcast next week. So we have 3 games next week. We have the Lakers on Tuesday. I believe we play the Heat at home, and then we finish the week against the Cavs on our early game to end the week. But do appreciate all of you guys, coming on in, watching this post-game podcast show after a 112-99 Pistons loss. But we'll see you guys next week. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a good week. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.